welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic, evil, dark, cult magic. I'm your host, Josh Gravey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and guy who abducts children to work in his mines.
Definitely not Alex Dandino. Never's done that.
Alex Dandino. I'm just asking questions.
Alex Dandino's not rich enough to have a mine.
When you see the Netflix documentary Dandino's Island. All right, before today's amazing episode, a little bit of business. People, it's official. We're on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The best way to support the show, the best way to help grow the show, but also the best way to make this show what you want it to be. We have a huge Patreon exclusive library that our patrons actually have a say in what goes in that library. We got commentaries. We got miniseries. You can even have us record a double feature. Come on, coffee, work now. Come on, goddammit. Lots of good stuff over there. We work really hard to try to make that worth the time and support that you guys are kind enough to show us. If you would be so generous, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod, the best way to help grow the show. For all of you who support us, thank you. We know you know that we love you, and it means the world to us. If you're about to support the show, thank you as well. There's also things you can do to help the show if financial support is not an option. You can send one of our shows to a friend you love who loves movies, right? Let them know that we exist. Send them an episode of a movie they love, a movie they hate, a movie you love, whatever. Send them an episode, right? Free, easy thing to do. Get some conversation started. That helps grow the show. Something else you can do, 5-star ratings and reviews wherever you find the pod. That helps us defeat the algorithmic cults that be stealing our children's and hearts, right? You can also follow us on all the socials. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Film Alchemist, if you want to see our early morning faces. Over there! That's enough business! All right. It's time to continue our journey. The pod wins an Oscar late.
We're workshopping it.
It's not as easy of a curation to come up with a name.
I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to wind up being the pod's workshopping a title. That's what this month's going to be called.
It's just going to be the pod ... You're not here for the fucking quippy titles. Neither here nor there. So the idea for this curation we thought was a really fun one, right? This year was a joyous celebration at the Oscars, right? A lot of celebrations of people winning Oscars. Mm-hmm. Who didn't seem like they were ever going to make it to that stage, right? So we thought, what if we took all of our best actor winners, rolled back the clock to some of their early works, right? To see from where they are now, Academy Award-winning actors, to some of the starts, right? So today we're doing the Key. We're talking about Key, man. An integral part, everyone our age for sure, he was an integral part of our childhoods, both as part of the Goonies and today's movie, Temple of Doom. Mm-hmm. Probably of the original Indiana Jones trilogy, right? Probably the least liked one of those, right?
Easily.
Which is not even really a criticism. Those are 3 fucking outstanding movies.
Yeah.
To me personally, if I'm ever going to watch an Indiana Jones movie, this is the one I watch. This was my first Indiana Jones movie. Because I'll never forget, we had a day in kindergarten, right? I went to this really small school, right? This country-ass school. And one day in kindergarten, I don't know what gym teacher went above and beyond for us. But it was kindergarten or first grade. We had a gym day where our segment was Indiana Jones. So one of the teachers was like flashing the lights. We got to swing on ropes. We had to run through obstacle course. We grabbed this ball, a dodgeball, and someone rolled this fucking gigantic boulder at us.
Nice.
Right? And I was like, this is the fucking coolest. I was like, is this what school's going to be every day? I'm going to be a learned scholar. Like, I was prepared to enjoy school for the rest of my life based on this. I mean, and this is like a small fucking school. So someone spent their own hard-earned money and time.
That's pretty cool.
To essentially build a Indiana Jones dungeon raid for us, right? So between that, and then I saw Muppet Babies. And Muppet Babies had the boulder. And I was like, oh my God, that was gym class, right? We did Muppet Babies Day at gym class. I had no idea. So I started asking around. And my Nana, who is the one who got me into movies, was like, oh, that's Indiana Jones.
Right.
And my Nana was like, you need to watch this one. And I was a young child. And she handed me this VHS that she had recorded, Temple of Doom, off cable, right? it fucking blew my mind. Because everyone who listens to this show, I'm a real like horror movie guy. I love horror movie aesthetics, all that.
Yeah.
This movie just says, do you want your Indiana Jones as a horror movie? And the answer for me was a resounding abso-fucking-lutely. I love this movie. I totally get why people think it's the worst Indiana, except for Crystal Skull. It's kind of clunky narratively. It has this really big kind of like dead spot in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get all that. The superpower of this movie is having Key a short round.
Yeah.
Right? This movie is a wish fulfillment for all of us who were kids saying, would you like to roll with Indiana Jones?
Right.
The shots of him in the background emulating and imitating Indiana Jones. Right? The bravery this young kid shows, right? This young street orphan. It's everything I wanted in a movie. This is one of my all-time favorite movies from my childhood that I would watch all the time. So I fucking unabashedly adore Temple of Doom, and it's the one I go back to the most. So Alex, kick me off with your opening thoughts on Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I saw Temple of Doom high school, maybe college. I did not seek out Temple of Doom. That might be wrong. I honestly, like, my recollection of Temple of Doom is so fuzzy, and I never, like, it was not the one I sought out for sure. Because, and I think, like everyone else, like, I remember seeing some of it on cable, like most kids our age, but it was never one that I was, like, gonna watch. So, like, the first time I sat down dedicated to watching it was I was much older, for sure. And yeah, I get it. Like, I get it's not the favorite because, yeah, there's like some questionable cultural choices within the film, and there's some, there's some things that probably don't gel with today's culture a little bit. And also, yeah, there is
that's a shitload of movies from 40 plus years ago.
Agreed. There's also a huge dead spot in the middle of this movie that you're like, even after watching it yesterday, I could not tell you. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck happened. Like, I'm just like
it's a bizarre, because it essentially starts with like a cold open that's a 20-minute Indiana Jones short film.
Yeah.
That plays like a traditional kind of hijinksy Indiana
Absolutely.
Jones, right? And the opening of this movie is a fucking rocket ship.
Barn burner.
Right? We're in this dance club. We're doing like a kind of Indiana or a James Bond riff.
Yeah.
I've got the diamond. I poisoned you. Here's an antidote, right? We're kicking diamonds and poison around. People are fighting, shooting. Indiana Jones kills a guy with a flaming kebab.
With, by the way, shittiest diamond they could have picked. Like, I don't know what the prop master was doing, but it was just like, I don't know. There's this one that I
fucking like softball side.
It wasn't even that. It's like, I don't know. There's this one I sculpted out of an empty snow globe. Does this one work? I mean, it's not really that great. Like, no, perfect. We'll do that.
I'm not as good at grading diamonds. I just thought it was a cool scene.
It's a cool scene, but it was. I mean,
dude, the way it's shot, though. This is.
I'm talking about it now.
I mean,
like now when I'm an
Steven
adult.
Spielberg, right? The Spielberg just shoots the fuck out of this movie, and I fucking love
Spielberg.
Yeah,
really
Spielberg, right? And then we do this like we're driving around, short rounds, driving the car. It's just fucking great, right? It's like a live action roller coaster. It's fucking amazing opening.
I mean,
right? And we get to the plane, and then we get the Mythbusters like jumping out of the plane with the raft. Like, it is a nonstop. Look at how fucking awesome and fun Indiana Jones is. And then we kind of slowly drift and meander into this, oh, hey, an archaeologist showed up at our village. Take this side quest.
Right.
So it's a narratively strange film. Like, just on a script level, right? When you're building this movie out, there are not a lot of movies that say, hey, let's start here for 20 minutes, and then we'll just kind of reboot this other, like, hour-long movie afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a weird choice they made, for sure.
It's, like, I mean, what I'll say this.
I think they were just like, our journey is coming in light. We've got like 80 pages of adventure. We need to beef it up.
If you read the stories of how this movie came together, it's kind of... It makes a lot of sense. It's not that this was like a trash movie or anything like that. Like
no, I mean, this is the partnership of two of the most important filmmakers of our youth.
Absolutely.
George Lucas and Spielberg, right? This is like a powerhouse collaboration.
Like this is also like originally Lucas had written a treatment that was supposed to take place in Scotland. and Spielberg cited it as way too close to Poltergeist, so they're like, you're gonna have to redo it. So, and then on top of that, Lawrence Kasdan, who helped write Raiders, they said, hey, we want you to come back and write Temple of Doom. And he read the dream and he goes, no, I'm not doing that. He read it like he's quoted saying it just read mean, and it happened. It came out like, I think the other thing too is,
that's a good place to start a conversation about this movie.
yeah, I agree, because this movie does come out, and I guess I never really thought about the historical context between of their lives, but it does happen in a time when Spielberg and Lucas were going through like really intense emotion, like personal shit. I believe because this is the movie famously that cost Spielberg like $100 million of his own money, because he basically got caught cheating on Amy Irving with Kate Capshaw in the middle of this movie. So she filed a huge lawsuit against him and got $100 million of his own money because they had to split
Fuck around and
whatever
find out.
he earned.
Yeah,
so
fuck around and find out, dude.
I mean, so there's that, and I can't remember what
Notice
was going
he left
on.
that out of the Fablemans. Interesting.
Yeah. Convenient,
Revisionist history much, Stefan? All right. No, I'm just
I don't remember. I don't do a lot of research, but that was Lawrence Kasdan's take, was it read very mean on the page. And for me, it just did not, it just came at a very turbulent time in their lives. And it felt like they were trying to say something really shitty. And I just didn't want to have any part of it.
That is kind of the big takeaway rewatching it.
Mm-hmm.
Is even Indy, it comes off as this kind of brute, right? He's like this real fucking brute character in this movie.
Yeah.
The kind of, devil may care vibe of Indiana Jones in the first one, right? This charming archaeologist who's fighting his way around the world. He still has those rough edges, right? He's clearly not always a great guy, right? He's a hit it and quit it, run around, fist fighting kind of guy. This one, he is so much darker, right?
I think,
because especially we talked about this about Kate Capshaw's character, right?
Yeah.
Willie is abrasive
yeah.
on a level it's like a Jar Jar Binks level of why do you want me to not like this character so much?
Yeah.
And the way Indy treats her is so fucking shitty.
Pretty shitty.
I mean, there are just scenes of him being, you're just is he just going to start smacking her around? Is what's happening? He opens the movie fucking knocking out a cigarette.
I was going to say, he fucking straight up punches a cigarette girl in the face, and there's no recoil of because you think, I think about the comparison to Raiders, and that version of Indiana Jones would have been oh, I did not mean to do that. That kind of it would have been a great gag, Sort of
a man of violence, but there is just something especially
Sure.
there's this cultural, right? All of our dads are you never hit women, right?
Punching a cigarette girl in the face was, I completely forgotten about that when I was watching it last night. I texted you, I was wow, this is really kicking off strong with Indy just punching a chick in the face.
In the movie, you're trying to tell me something, and what you're telling me is that Indiana Jones will casually knock women the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right? And it's strange, and there are scenes when Willie gets knocked off the elephant and sprayed. The way he just looks down on her in disdain, right? It has this it reminds me when you started to hear and they were making that Toby Jones movie, right? About how Hitchcock just tortured his actresses.
Yeah.
And I was there's a real vibe on that. And I was did something happen? And then you're oh yeah, something did happen. Did he just halfway through be you fucking cost me $100 million? And it's this movie is so unfair to the Willie character.
I mean, to be fair, and
in a way it's it is kind of repulsive at times. The scene when Indiana Jones is just primitive nocturnal activity, and you're just ugh, this isn't suave at all.
Yeah,
it has a real rapey vibe.
I'd say that
it's bizarre.
Scene, that post dinner scene. Look, I'm not saying that she's probably on the page. I couldn't tell you how Willie is supposed to be, the vibe that Willie's supposed to give off on the page. But I know the vibe Kate Capshaw gives while she's doing the part. And it's not just that she's so helpless. That is a huge problem, I think, in the movie.
Absolutely, probably no agency to do anything kind of character.
I think it's
And
literally
especially you
not
juxtapose
addressing.
that with the last movie, right? Where our heroine in the last movie's fucking out drinking people and fighting,
Right.
and
Like,
it's
I
like
think
Indiana Jones is equal.
Right. I think that's the problem is like what you can't do is say, oh, well, I want the opposite of Marion Ravenwood for this script. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. What you can't do is say, I want the opposite of Marion Ravenwood in every conceivable way, including her ability to conceive of what's going on around her. Because that's that to me is like the biggest problem with Willie is that she spends the entire movie in disbelief she's in the movie. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, you are in a film. Stop acting like you're in a movie. Like there's a huge, like that is like the biggest problem I have with the performance in general is she spends the entire movie acting like she just woke up in the middle of a movie.
I mean, I get the disbelief, like, wait, what's happening? Heart rips
Yeah,
and
but,
bugs,
like,
and there should
but I
be
gotta
a
tell you,
point,
an
though,
hour
where
in, you're
Willie
like, come on.
says the only way out is through, right?
Right.
And like, I'm here. I am a person who has worked her way up to be this famous singer in a far off land.
Right.
So Willie has done things in her life. Willie has achieved things, right? You would think at a
sure.
certain point she goes, I'm fucking sick of this shit, and gets in on it, right?
Right. Exactly.
She's putting the hat on for a scene and like going for it, right? But it feels so unfair to her, right? Because Willie gets criticized a lot. I don't see a world where, based on the script that we see on film, where Willie could have had any other trajectory but for people to be turned off by this character.
Right.
I don't think it's a performance issue. I think it is when you write a character who's so fucking useless.
I think it's a little column A, a little column B, because there is the agency an actress can have to like not chew the scenery. And the problem is like it happens a lot. But obviously that comes from a lot.
I mean, you're working with like one of like the power directors of the time, and if he's saying be a useless shit,
but maybe he's also saying, hey, do whatever you want because we gonna get down. You know.
Well, I mean, maybe I don't know, but this feels like an on the page problem.
Is there one person who was able to wield the power of Spielberg in the 80s? Yes, 'twas Kate Capshaw.
I don't blame her for the shortcomings of Willie. But this is kind of a big problem because Willie's also integrally tied to the worst flaw the movie has, which is this. By the time the raft stops, we're in this village. They've stolen a sacred stone and our children.
Right.
All right, I'm down for this mystery.
Cool. Interesting.
Then we have this like 30 minutes of meandering, right? Like we're going to walk on elephants to this palace. We're going to go do a dinner with all these weird foods.
Yeah.
It just kind of then Indiana Jones is like, is he a rapist? Right? We do this weird like 30 minutes of just kind of spinning our wheels and really making us sit and be like, do I like this Indiana Jones? Do I like Willie?
Yeah.
And the answer, like most of the scenes, is nope, not
really.
at all. And so if you take the opening ride, which is great, and I think once we get into the Temple of Doom, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
There's this big fucking gap. In an hour and 40 long minute movie, it's hard to fucking throw 30 minutes down the drain.
Yeah. Especially
that is the
like
rough part.
But it's like 30 minutes I think this is the really interesting thing about the movie. It's 30 minutes that's not like just, oh, there's 30 minutes of exposition in the middle of this movie of of an Indiana Jones movie. I need no Indiana Jones, once you've seen Raiders and any subsequent movie, I need very little exposition for Indiana Jones movies. Like it's almost
he's an
unnecessary.
archaeologist, but it's essentially like Hellboy, right? Like these are mythical journeys.
These are mythical journeys he goes on. Like he's going to find a thing, someone else is going to want it. 9 times out of 10 it's Nazis, and then you move on. Like it's this is like the one movie it's not Nazis. But
I thought the setting and the aesthetic was really cool.
I think so too. Like again, the movie just spends 30 minutes though not doing exposition because you can kind of just deal with exposition work. What it's doing is espousing the inner dirtbag of Indiana. I don't know how else to describe
it. But this is the great choice they made, which to me gets me through, is the addition of Short Round.
Absolutely.
Because there's that time when you see him and Indiana playing together, right? When they're like in the campfire.
How good is that?
They're hanging out together, and it's like, this is my dude. This is my friend. And again, the fact that in this post-Oscar world that we're not just going to say, let's do a short round series. Let's do a short round miniseries. This whole movie is about a kid who was found by Indiana Jones, how much they bonded together, how they needed each other, and him wanting to be Indiana Jones. The fact that Key's phone is not blowing up off the hook, and they're like, would you come back as short round? Imagine the audience reaction if the opening of an Indiana Jones scene, you see the silhouette at the door, and Key steps through the light.
Yeah.
I mean, that man is fucking brilliant. Like, it's hard for me to even talk about his scenes and everything ever all at once without getting choked up.
Same.
I mean, just like one of the most lovable human beings that you could put in this franchise. And that's the thing. They have a new movie coming out right now they filmed. And my hope is that someone got on the horn and says, hey, dude, you know what's really popular right now? Post-credit scenes. This is one I would be happy to wait through the credits for.
Yeah.
To see this reunion, right? The internet is resoundingly said we don't want Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones. I think people would get behind, because short round in this movie is the thing that elevates it to me.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
his age, because he's the exact opposite. He's a child, but he has agency coming out of everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is a fucking tough, get it done kind of kid. He's so fucking charming. He's so fucking funny. In those bits where he brings out the human in Indiana Jones that we're missing, like the scene when Indiana Jones is taken over, right? They make him drink the fucking blood out of the skull, which I was like,
yeah.
That's the thing. The Temple of Doom section is like Indy goes metal as fuck, and it's awesome.
For sure.
And when he makes him drink the blood, and he fucking smacks the shit out of Short Round.
Yeah.
Like, I feel that in my soul when that scene still happens. But Short Round doesn't sit there and cry and be like, no, all's lost. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to save my dude, Indy. And he torches them, right? And then they start, and he goes, hey, I'm all right, kid. And when Harrison Ford is down on his knees, he's like, I'm sorry, dude. Like,
well,
that's like a real, like, heartstring moment for me in a movie that's so lacking empathy for the characters.
This movie is about Short Round saving the day. Like, the whole thing is the end of Indiana Jones if Short Round does not.
The idea that Indiana Jones has done something good, right, and that there will be more Indiana Joneses to come.
Right. Like, this Indiana Jones that we all know and love from Raiders, like, imprinted on this kid and gave him the agency to be like, hey, don't back down from people who are trying to.
He gave him the ability to fight.
Right.
He gave him courage beyond what he should have.
I mean,
the things that we like about Indiana Jones,
probably
not the stuff we've done for the past 30 minutes.
Like, the opener alone, like his introduction when the car pulls up, the whole thing, I'm like, that might be the great, like,
Dr.
one of the
Jones,
top
there's
5.
No time for love. It's like
one of the top 5 great intros for a character. Because
I mean, this is a kid's movie, right? The basis of this is the kind of serial that George Lucas watched as a kid. Right. And so putting this super fucking capable kid in the middle of it, I mean, that was a stroke of brilliance.
Well, I think what's really fascinating about this movie, like, culturally, is that this one and Gremlins are actually the reason that the PG-13 rating was created.
Yeah.
Because it was like Spielberg who had to petition. He's like, hey, I made one mildly violent movie and I made Gremlins as well. Can you, like, make a different one so that, like, parents know it's not a PG rated movie? It's
PG-13 to me just reads, we didn't want to go all the way.
Yeah, that's all.
Right?
PG-13 is always like, oh, they say the F word once in this movie. Cool.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. When I was a kid, it was okay to see movies that had violence and horror and whatever. Like, now everything's very sanitized for kids. Now they just do emotional trauma directed at parents normally.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fine. Yeah, scarring shit that's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars in therapy. That's okay, right? The thought that my kid can just imagine me and my wife are going to die every time we enter a vehicle, that's fine.
There's a casting in this movie that I completely, again, this is one of those movies that I just, like, I don't spend much time with. I have a friend who I don't think my friend Rex Chung listens to the show, but this is like his favorite Indiana Jones movie. He's very passionate about that. This is like a legitimately good Indiana Jones movie, and it's, like, unfairly maligned. I completely forgot that Delbert Grady is, like, the fucking British officer in this movie, and when I saw him, I was like, oh, That's a vibe to throw in the movie. Like that's a like interesting casting vibe. You're like, oh, you are trying to tell everyone up front, like, hey, some fucked up shit is going to happen.
There is a brief moment where the movie tries to play it. It's like, oh, thank God the British soldiers are here to put down the Indian people. And I was like, that's not a great choice. Yeah. I was like, well, at least they made the other soldiers also Indian civilians or soldiers, right? But I was kind of like oh, thank God the British man was here to save the day. I was like, that's a rough one. But Indiana Jones has always been a white savior kind of movie. It's just this is the one where he's not fighting other white people.
Yeah, I think that's a very important like, again, that I think like that's like the, you know.
But you have an Asian person as part of the fucking group that's the heroes.
Right. But I mean, like, that's the, like, 40 years later, that's the problem with the movie. Like, you know, that's the cultural agency that, like, certain things take in hindsight. So
take all that shit out, right? Like, there are problems with the movie for sure. But my theory with movies is, right, what I kind of judge a movie by, like, what are you at your best? Like, what are the best, like, 3 to 5 moments in the movie? And if you just take Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom at its 3 to 5 best moments, you could stack this movie up against fucking almost anything, and it can fucking hold its own.
I mean,
like,
it still does.
Best, this movie is fucking... Like, when we watch and they crawl into that temple and they're like, the Thuggee are real. That fucking chamber is awesome. Like, seared in my memory as, like, one of the coolest fucking sets I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
When he pulls the guy's heart out, the guy's still alive. They lower him into the fucking lava, right? They fucking bring him back up. You got the stones. You got the skull that's glowing from this, like, mythical energy. I watch that scene still, and I'm like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like, I fucking love this cultist chamber. I love the fucking scenery and the imagery of the ritual, right? Yeah. When this movie's right, it's real right.
Yeah, I think that it's just classic action. Like
that fucking heart rip, and he's holding it, and then the heart catches on fire. Fucking hell, dude!
Come on, man! Like, how can you not be? I mean, there's like, even though like there's like, yeah, like it's 4 or 5 moments that are totally metal that are really like, that is the Indiana Jones movie I came for.
Yeah,
and when you think about, and again, I'm not saying you can't just like pick it apart like that because it's a movie, but like. Those scenes make up for, like, what, 30 minutes of downtime. There's a great
screenwriting book. It's kind of a storytelling book, right? I think it's called Story by Robert McKee.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about this. He's like, your movie will be remembered. I can't remember if he says 2 or 3, whatever, but he's like, all of the movies that you love. We don't remember all of, like, the exposition and the motivations, right? You get, like, into someone's memory, there's, like, those 3 moments, however many he said, right? That are like, that's how people will take your movie. And that's how they'll remember it. When I remember Temple of Doom, right? And I hadn't watched this in a couple years. I don't remember that middle section, right? I remember the escape and the raft. I remember the fucking heart rip. I remember Indiana Jones pummeling that giant guy who's in blackface, I guess.
Is Pat Roach. Yeah.
Yeah, brown face,
not great.
Right? Not great. Not great. But I
know.
remember Indiana Jones pounding on him for appropriating, while in the background you see Short Round pounding on the kid with the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
I remember Indiana Jones being forced to drink blood and becoming Dark Indiana. Like, when he's shooting Dark Indiana Jones, fucking hell, dude. That was also kind of one of those, I'm like, you've been doing Dark Indiana Jones this whole movie. What? But I remember this movie for those moments. I fucking love a lot of this movie.
I mean, you can stack up most great action sequences. If the mineshaft scene is not in there, I cannot imagine it's a good...
It's a cartoon, but it's fucking fun as shit.
It's
like, my kids watch this with me, and my children have never seen it, right? They're 7 and 5 now.
Right.
They actually, and this was one of those where I was like, wow, this still works. They fucking put down the Nintendo Switch that they were playing and handing back and forth, and just started watching the movie once, like, the heart rip happened.
That is the magic of Indiana Jones.
If you can make kids today put down the fucking screen and watch watch a movie and be into it, that is a fucking achievement, I assure you, right? And I can hear other parents, that's screen time for screen time. All right, man, whatever. It's Indiana Jones. It's fucking
I swear to you, I had to do I had to do like an individual education assessment or something for Henry yesterday. And we were sitting here, and he likes to sit on my lap when I'm working at the computer. So I have two screens. So on the other screen, I'll put up YouTube just so that I can like get work done. So I was doing this Zoom call with his teachers, and they're like, see, he's been sitting there the whole time. He's concentrating quietly. And I was like, yeah, listen, don't judge me, but he's watching YouTube videos of like toy unboxing. So like, I'm a bad parent. Like, let's just like address
Parents
it.
need to get this in their head. This is the world they're going to grow up in.
Yeah. So
you
like,
can limit your
just,
kids to like an hour of screen time, but how much time do we as adults spend on fucking screens?
Yeah.
That ain't going down.
But like, there are times like I didn't watch this with him, but I will say there are times,
He's a little
especially
younger, yeah.
there are times though when I've watched action movies of this ilk, maybe even Raiders at this point, to be honest, and he's been like mesmerized. Like that again is the power of Indiana Jones, is that it is this. Yeah, it's not a CGI fest and all these other things. And like, you know, look, we're about to get another Indiana Jones movie that I'm sure has some of those elements in it, but it's action because that's what you do in serials. Like there's something really magical about that kind of thing. And Temple of Doom
is a classic. Like how fucking fun
Temple
is
of Doom does that better than almost all of them. Like that mine shaft moment is
Temple of
unbelievable.
Doom has this aesthetic of it was designed for an interactive show at the Universal backlot.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of people weaponize that against this movie. But again, this is the grown men talking about these movies as if they were not directed for a children audience.
Right.
And I can already hear people saying, then why are they doing the throat-ripping dark magic cult? Because that is fucking cool, and kids
cool.
like that shit. As a kid, I immediately knew, oh, this is bad, right?
Listen,
and I thought they were cool.
I think that's a really important thing is like when you are unfamiliar with, and this is just how it always is, when you are not familiar, because we grow up in America where we're taught that this is like literally the only cultural melting pot in the world. When you learn about another culture, when you learn or when you don't know anything about something else and you see something like that in a movie or television, you stop and notice. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the right way to do it, but like sometimes it's a really fascinating thing to see. And then it makes you go, is that really how another world works?
The other thing I actually really dig about this one is Indiana Jones, an archaeologist, right? Mm-hmm. That's digging up old shit to like tell the story of the past, right?
Right.
This is the one where what if the artifact from the past has unearthed itself?
Right.
And now you're actually living it. Instead of just talking about what it was. And this isn't some old ass ghost like, pick a cup, that's a fun game. Yeah, that's not a fun game. This is a guy who's like, holy shit, this cult was supposed to be dead for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. I'm fucking under the spell of its magic. For some reason, they have what we call voodoo dolls, right? I don't know if that's the thing that they had somewhere in that culture as well. But like, I think it's, watching Indiana Jones be fucking consumed by the history that he, you know, is always just studying safely from the modern lens.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fucking awesome. The idea that like you dig too deep and you find some shit that fights back.
It's really cool.
And yes, I know the Ark of the Covenant melted some fucking faces, whatever, fine. That's the other thing. It's the classic refrain at this point. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, would happen the exact same way if Indiana Jones was not in the movie.
Yeah.
The Nazis still find the Ark. They still get melted. Done.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is so fucking brought into the belly of this beast that I think it's great, man. That shot of when he fucking gets his agency back, right? And there's that silhouette of Indiana Jones that just meant the world to me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all those fucking little kids turn around and see him, right? And Short Round had already given him hope with his escape, right? When he's like climbing up that ladder to get to that little fucking cavern. And there's that great shot of all the kids looking up with a big smile on their face because one of them got out.
Right.
And when Indiana Jones runs up and he hits a guy like he's Mike Tyson and sends him sliding like 15 feet, you see those kids like, yeah, it's fucking righteous.
Yeah.
It's fucking righteous.
It's all, like, there are such great moments in this movie.
Yeah.
That
great moments.
This is the thing that I always love about, this is the thing that I think makes, and this is why we're doing the pod like this month, is this is what makes Ke Huy Quan's performance so important and so impactful and so wonderful. Same reason you and I, like, one of the big things that we both liked about Return of the Jedi is that ending, where it's like one kid who has, The Last Jedi. The one kid who has like
the microcosm of what makes Star Wars so important to us is that last shot of Last Jedi. Yeah.
And it's exactly what we said at the beginning of this pod, which is like, this is us getting to be on this journey. Like, we all get to put ourselves in Short Round's shoes for the entire time. We get to be on this journey with Indiana Jones, and that's access that we weren't getting in other action movies. Like, we're either, there were a lot of great, like Joe Dante, who did a good job of like giving kids a lot of agency and some stuff. And then there's like movies like Monster Squad, of course.
The 80s were a great era for like kids who can be actively involved in the adventure movies. But the scene
this is Indiana Jones.
The scene of this movie that is the most like prescient to me, right? Or the shot, I should say. Right. Is when Indy's fighting the guy and the little kid's like voodoo doll him. He's like, ah. Indiana Jones is fucking dead. Like, he's going to die. His head's going to get smashed by that rock smashing machine, right?
Right.
You see Short Round standing there with Willie, who's like, no. Short Round's like, oh, I got this. He fucking runs and he catches the water elevator, right? He jumps up, and that shot of him just fucking fighting and pounding the kid.
So awesome.
He's fighting. He gets the knife out of the doll, and Indy wakes up. Boom. As if because of Shorty's action, he's re-imbued with power. And they're fucking fighting at the same time.
Come on.
That's how you sell to the fucking people who love
That's
this
what you
movie.
Get the kids in the seat for. You're like, I could be Short Round.
Yeah, I could fucking save Indiana Jones.
I could save Indiana Jones. I could be the linchpin of the whole movie.
Come on, man. I mean, that shot alone to me. I mean, I just love everything. Key is so fucking wonderful in this movie.
It's pretty glorious.
The power that he had, even as a young actor, right? Is he's so fucking funny for sure.
Yeah.
But that empathy, that fucking bravery, that I can't do this, but I'm gonna fucking try anyways, dude. I mean, it just fucking oozes from him. Yeah. Right? And it is one of my favorite things that he's back now. And I think he has to be fucking involved in anything Indiana Jones going forward.
Yeah.
I'll put that
There's
there.
definitely going to have to be some reshoots going on.
Because this is a dark, fucking black magic rituals and children's slavery. Like, this is a dark fucking place to find ourselves. But in the middle of it, there is this kid who is doing pretty much exactly the same shit as Indiana Jones, fighting to make this better. So you feel okay, right? The mine shaft and the water pouring out and that finale on the rope bridge is just fucking
awesome.
Great. As a kid, you're like, there's bad guys. A rope bridge, there's crocodiles eating people. I fucking love every second
that crocodile
of this,
shit is gnarly. I completely forgot. So cool.
Awesome.
But like that. So when he's going, like when
there was
him
an
and,
old game. Do you remember Pitfall?
Yeah.
Yeah, just vines and jumping and alligators eating you.
Yeah. But when him and Mola Ram are like basically like punching each other while holding on, like, you betrayed Shiva, and then he just starts saying, that was like, oh my god, this is so metal.
He's like, I am the greatest appropriator. He starts fucking wielding the Mother India magic against an Indian man.
Yeah, but then he gives it back at the end, so he's just like appropriates.
But maybe should have made him drink the blood and fucking get brought into the cult.
He appropriates as to save himself, but then
enslaved Indiana Jones and gave him the keys of your own destruction. Yeah,
he gives it back.
Fucking, dude, when he chops that and Short Round's like, "We're going for a ride," and Willie's like, "Dear God, no!" And when he starts chopping that bridge, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like it's just a great. And they have all these throwbacks to the first one, right? Like there's the two guys with the swords, and he reaches for his pistol. Like
doesn't have the gun.
It's not there.
Yep.
It's such fucking fun filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right? And watching people get thrown and watching the guy get fucking bounced off the rocks, he falls to his death, right? And the crocs get him.
Dude, that was that's
fucking awesome.
And again, like, it's 40 fucking years ago or whatever, but like that, him bouncing off the rocks was like, oh wow, there is some serious like
ouch.
Like
he's already gonna get eaten. We don't need all
like
this
today
extra.
That would just be a wide shot of like a digital like person falling.
It's like the RoboCop shot where all of a sudden the guy's built like Jack Skellington.
Yeah.
But
one of my all-time faves.
Dude. And then the end of the film is just our heroic heroes coming back to a village that's now flooded with their children back. These happy fucking faces. This Indiana Jones and Short Round have brought these people back, man. that's how I remember this movie. Is it's narratively the least functional of these Indiana Jones trilogy, right? Like it's just has a lot of fucking obvious problems that there's really not a lot of room to like debate about. There are just a lot of bad choices that happened in this movie, right? But if you take the last 30 or 40 minutes and the first 20 minutes, right? Our sum movie of this hour and 40-minute movie is really fucking good. It's really fucking fun, classic kind of Indiana Jones serialized adventure. Yeah. And to me, it's like, maybe because I found it as a kid, I never expect anything from Indiana Jones except for fun. I don't look at Indiana Jones as a place where, like, we can rehash the, like, you know, cultures of the past or what's... I just want to see a guy fighting through a cool set, get a little bit of, like, flavor from the historical shit.
Yeah.
That's it. Punching Nazis, great. Love that. Right? Fighting a dark magic ritual cult, drinking blood.
Great.
Love that. Right?
Yeah.
Evil Indiana Jones about to fucking burn Willie. Great images, right? Love it. The heart rips. Everything about it is fucking fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary as shit for kids, but it's fucking fun. Being scared is fun. That's why we have roller coasters and horror movies, and that's why people skydive and bungee jump, because being scared is fucking fun.
Yeah.
And it's
skydiving
really
and
fucking
bungee jump
fun when you're a kid. Being scared when you're a kid is really fucking fun, man.
Agreed.
When it's like this, right? You don't want to be like scared in like the broader sense of life. But so for me,
you don't want to be scared like we always are.
Yeah. This movie delivers everything I want out of an Indiana Jones. Does it give me this kind of giant tumorous growth as well? Yeah. I'm not denying that. But for how much fun it is, for the super fucking metal imagery of this fucking thuggy cult, right? Of getting to do that ride with a character as awesome as Short Round. That's why I go back to this, man. Raiders is an inarguably better movie than Temple of Doom.
Sure.
On almost every level.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have a death cult, and it doesn't have Short Round. Right?
I think it missing Short
Last
Round
Crusade
is pretty...
is another kind of classic, like, better written adventure. It adds Sean Connery, which is fucking great. It doesn't have
Short
fucking
Round,
flaming heart rips, and it doesn't have Short Round.
Yeah.
So when I reach back to watch one of these movies, this is the one I always reach for. Every fucking time. I'm not here to tell you that it's a better movie than those other two, and that it's not, like, it's not unfairly maligned. Like, there's a lot to malign.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I think this is the thing. When the movie's at its best, it fucking
cooks,
soars.
Man. Yeah.
It fucking soars. And there are a lot of movies that if you just look at them, you're like, there's a lot of stuff I don't like. Like, what's the best scene in a movie that you're like, that's average? What's the best scene or two in that movie? What does it do for you? Not as much as Temple of Doom, I bet.
It's just the way it just hits all the right, like, when it's good, and it hits the right spots. And I think that's a really important thing. And Key as Short Round is...
That's where I want you to close.
Unbelievable.
The idea of this month, right, is to look at where they started to where they are now, right? So from Short Round to Waymond, walk me through what you thought rewatching this movie in the context of Key has just won an Oscar.
Right. I mean... It's one of those things where, like, this was his first role in a movie. And, like, like, that scene where they're accusing each other of cheating was all improvised. Like, I think what's fascinating is you watch that, which is a little boy bringing this out of Harrison Ford. Like, Harrison Ford, who's a seasoned actor, Han Solo, the guy from Witness, the guy from American Graffiti, all these things.
And he's like a grizzled, like, brute piece of shit in this movie.
Yeah, and this version of Indiana Jones is a darker, like, angrier, like, not having a good time guy.
Yeah.
To get that out of that performance, like, that really cute levity is so powerful. When you see him as Waymond, like, that's what I think. This is like Ke Huy Quan's superpower as an actor. And this is something I think the reason he was so impactful this year and the reason Everything Everywhere All at Once was so beautiful is because Ke Huy Quan's power as an actor is this, like, unfiltered empathy. Whatever it is about him, that's what, like, you latch on to this. It's not even innocence. It's just this unfiltered empathy and pleasure of life. And so whether he's like arguing about cheating at a card game with Indiana Jones or having this beautiful moment trying to bring Michelle Yeoh back from the brink of nihilism, it is this powerful, palpable moment that he has as an actor where he can just look into the camera or you can look in his face and see something absolutely pure. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
So Ke Huy Quan to me, right? The thing that his great power, right? And there's that great moment in Everything Ever All at Once where he's like, you think I'm naive. This is my survival strategy, right? I choose to be happy. I choose to see the best in things. Because for me, that makes life better to live. And that, to me, right, the montage of when Michelle Yeoh sees all the Waymans, right, and she remembers back on this life of him just being this silly, fun guy, right? That, to me, is what he does. To me, he represents this. He never lost that childlike joy and excitement of life.
Right.
At least in his performances, right? And so watching him be this guy that's so full of joy and happiness, it makes those moments where he shows you how fucking hurt he can be so much more powerful, because that's not the palette we associate with him, right? He is a joyous person. When you see him not only open up and just do this deep fucking well of, yeah, I'm sad too, man, but like Short Round, I'm going to fucking choose to face the day. And that's the other thing, right? Between this and Everything Everywhere All at Once's Waymond, right? Even though he wants to be happy and goofy, and you might call him naive, and he might not fucking put outward face to a lot of his sadness, he's still going to fucking stand between you and the fucking monster and fight.
Yeah.
And it's cool, man. It's great.
It's just joyful. There's joy. It's joy on joy. That's all.
We this year got back like a really powerful performer.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier, man.
Same.
That's it for the Temple of Doom. We've ripped its flaming heart out. That's it. I hope you guys had fun with it, man. I love this Indiana Jones movie. I actually can't believe we haven't done more Indiana Jones movies. At least 2 more, I should say. So someday we'll probably get to more Indiana Jones, man. But
3 more at this point.
That's what I really like about this curation, right? Is this kind of journey between what was and what is now, right? The new possibilities ahead of what we could get, right? Maybe we'll get more Short Round. That would be fucking great. Wonderful fucking movie from my childhood that means a lot to me. So I'm glad we talked about it. I hope you guys had fun this episode. If you would be so kind and you want to help support and grow the show, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Every little bit helps, guys. We thank you so much for the support. If you can't financially support, man, I get it. Send an episode to a friend who loves movies, right? Share everything on the socials. Leave those ratings and reviews wherever you find the show. Click subscribe on the YouTube Film Alchemist, right? There's a lot of ways we can work together to help grow this show. And again, we're at your behest, man. We need your help to do that. We'll keep doing the talking if you guys just help us with those things. And we appreciate you for it. We appreciate your time. For the Film Alchemist podcast, I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex Dandino. Kaliman. Kaliman.
Metal.